Hello, I'm Mike Bain from Christian Voice New Zealand. Hey, thanks for joining me as we look at today's culture through the lens of the Bible. But I want to tell you about something that is also unfortunately familiar in today's world, but the question is why? Why have we never heard about this? Back in a minute. What I'm about to tell you is unbelievable, but true. And once you know, I have questions. Beneath the silence of the Western press, a genocide is unfolding, and one that has claimed the lives of over 3,100 Christians in Nigeria this year alone. And yet, for all the blood spilled, for all the churches burned and children slain, one would be hard-pressed to find even a whisper of coverage from major news organisations like CNN, the BBC, or even Television One News. I'm sure you can see the irony in this, especially when you recall how the world reacted with condemnation over the incursion of Hamas terrorists into Israel on the night of October 7, killing 1,200 people and taking hostages. The slaughter of Christians, though, it seems is not newsworthy in today's media economy. A week's now passed when the village of Yelawata in Nigeria's Benue state was transformed into a furnace of unspeakable horrors. I warn you now, what I'm about to speak about is graphic. Fulani Islamic militants, part of the foreign-funded and ideologically driven campaign, stormed homes, locked entire families inside and set them ablaze. Over 200 Christians, including women and children, were burned alive or butchered in their beds. Entire families erased from the earth in just the span of hours. You know, there were no UN press briefings, no hashtags, no somber journalists anchoring primetime news with breaking news. Instead, there was silence. The kind of silence that testifies, the kind that damns. But the Yelawata massacre was not an isolated incident. Just days prior, over 130 Christians were murdered across Benue and Plateau states in coordinated attacks. Villages such as Gwer West and Apa were turned into killing fields, their inhabitants hacked down with machetes, their homes razed to ash. From May 24th to June 2nd, the Christian middle belt of Nigeria bled without end as radicalised Fulani herdsmen advanced southward under the green banner of jihad. These are militia operating with military precision and religious fervour, often with foreign backing and political impunity. The goal is not land, it's extermination. And Nigeria's Christian population, especially in the northern and central states, is squarely in the crosshairs. You know, since 2009, over 45,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria by Islamic extremists such as Boko Haram, ISWAP and Fulani militants. Let's just let that sink in for a moment. 45,000 lives. 45,000 martyrs in one country, and the world have never heard a single name. This, my friends, is genocide. And the silence surrounding it, especially from Christian communities in the West, is as heartbreaking as the bloodshed itself. I said I had questions, and I believe we need answers. But where in New Zealand is the outcry from the hand-wringing Chloe Swarbricks of New Zealand? Where is the outcry from the Looney Tunes like Greta Thunberg today? Why aren't they up in arms? Is it because, and I have to ask this, but is it because these people are from Africa? Or is it because it's just not trendy? Or is it not politically correct because we've no skin in the game with this nation? But here's the question from one small-based Christian organisation here in New Zealand. Where's the outrage from the global church? Where are the marches, the vigils, the sermons sounding the alarm? Why is the body of Christ in the world asleep while the body of Christ in Nigeria is being dismembered, literally? According to Open Doors, 380 million Christians worldwide now face high levels of persecution, a number that rose by 15 million in the past year alone. Church attacks have been increased 800% since 2018, and yet The mainstream media continues to filter these tragedies through a political lens that minimises religious persecution, especially when the victims are Christian. So why? Perhaps it's because acknowledging Christian persecution challenges the prevailing narratives of global oppression. Perhaps it's because the suffering of believers doesn't fit neatly into the ideological categories favoured by newsrooms. Or maybe in a post-Christian West, the plight of those who refuse to renounce Christ simply doesn't inspire sympathy. But you know, truth is not determined by airtime, and silence does not erase blood. The reality is that Christianity now is the most persecuted religion in the world, and nowhere is that more painfully clear than in Nigeria. Of the nearly 5,000 Christians killed for their faith in 2025, so far over 3,100 have died in Nigeria alone. That's over 60% of global Christian martyrdom in one single nation. You know, my friends, these are not statistics. These are human beings, their mothers, their fathers, sons, daughters, pastors and farmers whose only crime was trusting Jesus in the land where that religion invites a death sentence. Under the shadow of Sharia law in 12 Nigerian states, that sentence is sometimes carried out by courts, other times by machete. This is no longer about religious tension or tribal disputes. This is systematic state-enabled religious cleansing. And the media's refusal to cover it is complicity in its own right. To the worldwide church, the blood of our brothers and sisters cries out from the ground. Will we turn our heads away again? Or are we too busy ourselves with worship playlists and self-help sermons while villagers are set ablaze? We must wake up. The persecuted church cannot be ignored simply because their suffering isn't trending. We must raise our voices in prayer and advocacy and on financial support. We must demand that our leaders, both political and spiritual, call this what it is, a genocide. Because if the church will not speak, who will? And if we refuse to see the suffering, how long will it be until it reaches our doorsteps? The words of the Apostle Paul echo louder than ever. He says, if one part suffers, every part suffers with it. 1 Corinthians 12:26. So Yellow Water is burning. Are we listening?